Hey there, everybody. I'm joined by Eric once again, and we're going to talk dwarves today. So this is a movie blocks format for Lord of the Rings TCG. We've been doing an ongoing series trying to cover each different culture, and today we have sort of the dwarven meta. We only have one deck to share today because I think this might be one of the only viable decks for dwarves. So sorry, Gimli, it's just you're not that good. So Eric, do you want to walk us through this deck in front of us? In the video, we'll have the deck list in the description as well. So for folks curious about that.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Matt. And yeah, you're exactly right that the dwarf in the movie block meta is very shallow. The reasoning for that is in Siege of Gondor, which is one of the final sets in the block, dwarves had a card called Aggression, which was just a broken condition that allowed you to add 1 damage to all your dwarves and basically, in essence, draw 4 cards also. So it just created an obscene engine, and it actually got banned right before the movie block Worlds. And so dwarves took a big hit, and this is still in essence the body of that same deck, but it doesn't have that card draw engine from the card Aggression. So I'll show you what they were able to salvage without that. So without a doubt, Gimli is your Ringbearer. And obviously that's nice.
I love that thematically, right? Just love Gimli being the Ringbearer.
Yeah, and he's featured, in some decks later on. He was a pretty prominent Ringbearer, but in movie block, this is the only one that you'll typically see him in. And he's, in this case, carrying the Binding Ring just because dwarves have all of their rings, and being able to pull them from the deck is really nice. Of course, you have to keep an eye on his resistance because he's a 4 plus X, where X is whatever his damage is. So he's kind of starting out at a 5, but you can add to that pretty easily with stuff that's in here. And then next, I guess technically you're playing Linnar first to get him down, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Is just a pretty standard 2-cost dwarf. But then this is the key guy right here, is Durin III, and his effect says while you can spot 2 dwarves, Durin III is Twilight cost -2. So that's really the gimmick here, is since you have Gimli as your Ringbearer, that's 0. And then Linnar is 2, but then that gives you 2 dwarfs for Durin to spot. So basically then he comes down for 2. So yeah, you've got, 8, again, similar to like how elves do it. You've got 8 cost worth of companion here, but it only counts as 2 because Gimli's free and Durin is -2. So that's pretty sweet. But Durin, who you kind of build this around, he has the effect of strength +1 for each artifact and possession that he bears. So he's from the Reflection set. But basically the idea here is let's load up Durin with a ton of possessions and make him a tank. Because dwarves are so shallow, you've got a couple other companions here to support you. Faramir, son of Denethor, is just great because it takes the text skirmish ability off of your opponents, so that if they're doing anything squirrely, you can just put that person on Faramir and cancel out their text. So he's one of your supporting companions. Sam, of course, in there to remove burdens. Like I said, Gimli's resistance is a little fragile, so having a couple Sams in there is nice. And Aragorn, Ranger of the North, just as a suicide companion, is nice to throw in there for 1 single card. So then for allies, we've just got Thrarin. In this, the only interesting interaction with him is you can actually put an axe on him if you want to, just to cycle it. But that's the only, other than that, he's just as he is in any other deck. So yeah, the card draw in this is much worse, obviously, than with Aggression. To draw, you've got to do Delving, which requires you to exert a dwarf to draw 3. So it used to be you draw 4 cards for no exertion, but you still got a couple in there to help you just cycle more cards into your hand. Then, like I said, this is what the deck's built around, is just tons of possessions. So we've got a couple of hand axes in here. It's just a 0-cost possession. You've got a couple of Dwarven Bracers in here. Then you've got, let me pull them here. Got these a little bit out of order. Then the other possessions, you've got your Dwarven Axes. These are super solid, again, just because they cost 0 and you throw them on any of the dwarfs. That's the one thing that's nice with the dwarven culture, is all these weapons are interchangeable. Then we do have one specially for Gimli, again, just to increase his damage. Get a Gimli's battle axe in there. This is kind of the key of the deck, which also used to just be totally broken when you had aggression and could really pump up your damage plus X, is Blood's Run Chill. This is the key Dwarven event to discard people's cards during the regroup phase. So if you have a dwarf who's damage plus X, you can exert him twice to make the opponent discard X shadow cards. So conceptually how this works is it's whatever minions they have on the table, obviously, are shadow cards. But also, if you can get your dwarfs damage high enough, it's also going to be like all of their support area conditions that are lying around. Because if you make your opponent discard, 4 cards and they only have 2 minions down, well, then they got to start clearing out their support area. So this is a very powerful card if you can get your damage high enough. And obviously, one of the easiest, best ways to get your damage high enough is the Ring of Fury. This just gives you a damage +2. So even, Ring of Fury on Gimli right there, you're at damage +3 just with that one card. And so then, your Blood's Run Chill for 3. Get an axe on him, you're at 4. So yeah, there's ways you can get yourself up there. So you've got a couple Rings of Fury, and then again, just a couple of the other rings. Got a Ring of Guile, Ring of Retribution. Dark Ways is just a healing card. Discard this condition to heal a dwarf twice and take a skirmish event into hand. Just kind of solid 1 of. And again, some more 1 of Endurance of Dwarves to get you some extra vitality. Gimli's Helm. The one thing to say about Gimli's Helm that's really good in the movie block is threats are a big deal. And there's a trick with Gimli's Helm that says skirmish, discard Gimli's Helm to prevent all wounds to him. So if during a skirmish, you assign all of the wounds to Gimli off of a threat, and you have discarded this to prevent all the wounds to him, it will prevent all of the threat wounds. And so you can clear your threats down to 0 by discarding Gimli's Helm. So that's a really nice trick in movie block. And then lastly, you've just got the pumps here. You've got some Axe Strikes and Fury of Blows. So like I said, this is a decent deck, but I think a lot of people were dissuaded from playing dwarves just because, well, first off, elves came out and elves were just dominating at that point in time. And then, losing your key aggression card was punishing, and you had to kind of retool the deck into something slightly less powerful. But, again, Gimli and Durin are still just 2 fantastic companions, especially when you devote your deck to, throwing a bunch of possessions on them and getting high damage and doing some discarding with that Blood Runs Chill. So it's a pretty solid deck, but definitely I'd say tier 1.5. It's not quite going to be up there with the other top decks in the movie block.
Well, very cool. So I guess this is a tier 1.5. That's the best the dwarves can do. I don't want to make a height joke here. We're just, they can't quite get up to tier 1. Love to hear people's thoughts in the comments here. Maybe you have a different idea for a deck or for a dwarf deck that's more viable. Love to share it. Love to have the conversation going. But Eric, thanks for showing off this dwarf deck, and we'll see everybody next time.